Everybody, welcome See-Through Tech Summit 2023. Hope you're enjoying breakfast. Certainly appreciate you guys taking maybe even last night and today and tomorrow out of your busy schedules. We're going to warm things up a little bit with a vendor spotlight. Observe.AI is looking to boost the value and the investment that you've made in your contact center with each and every interaction that your agents have. So whether your frontline workers are talking with people in real time or even post-interaction, they've got a variety of solutions across all different verticals, financial, insurance, retail, and others to really help you accelerate all the outcomes for your business. So with that, I'd like to introduce Alex, Principal Sales Solutions Engineer from Observe.AI. Thanks, Alex.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right, cool. So it is Tuesday morning. It is 8:30. Thank you all so much for making the time. I think the best thing that we can do with at least the beginning part of this time is get the crowd going, try to do something a little bit exciting. So what I want to know from a few people in the audience, you can just scream it out, is what your first job was. I don't mean first job in the contact center professionally, like first job in high school, earlier, later. What was the first thing that you did? Anyone, yell out. What was that? Paperboy. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. That's the first time I've heard that one. Park ranger. Very cool. Milked cows. Definitely haven't heard that one. I know we're in somewhere else. Anyone else? Got two more? Restaurant host. Very cool. That's a good one. What was that? Mowed lawns. Very neat. Okay, good. We got some good ones. I worked at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey on a ride called Bizarro. It's a big Superman purple roller coaster, and I did not last very long. I think I made it about 6 weeks in that job. I pressed the wrong button. It caused the whole ride to shut down, and I was actually fired from that. But it's okay. You know, these things happen. So anyway, thank you all so much for making the time. My name is Alex Lustig, and I am a channel sales engineer. Essentially, my job is to make sure that our partners understand the Observe.AI product and are capable of explaining it to who they work with, their customers, and we're here to help you along that process. So we'll talk a little bit about what Observe.AI does, but I think we should start with why Observe.AI exists. So you may have heard this line said at some point when you call into a contact center. This conversation may be monitored or recorded for quality and training purposes. Now, the intention of this is that this interaction at some point is stored so the data can be interpreted. But so often, only a tiny percentage of the actual interactions that are recorded ever actually get processed, right? So essentially what we're going to do is talk about, well, what happens when we want to make sense of this data. Currently, this is what that looks like, right? About 2% of data within the contact center is actually analyzed. And this 2% is extremely manual. It's extremely expensive. Generally, the process for this is random selection. So you have all these interactions between your agents, between your customers, be them calls or SMS, emails, web chat, and you want to make sense of this data, but it's really difficult to do that. So you hire a bunch of people to make sense of this data. And when you want to scale from 2% to, let's say, 3 or 4%, you're going to have to double the amount of effort you're putting in, and you're still not understanding, let's say, 96% of the business in that case. So right before we get into, I guess, where our customers are on the journey, really what you have to know is what are the effects of that, right? So when a rep isn't enabled, they're not going to sell as well. So when you're only understanding a portion of their data and you can't improve that agent's performance and you can't make them better, well, ultimately that's going to lower their performance. On top of that, we know that when customers are upset, they're going to be more likely to churn. So if the agents aren't as enabled to handle the customer problems, they're going to be much more likely to have an issue down the road. And a lot of this you really can't get mad at the agent for, because if an agent's struggling, generally speaking, the interactions are going to be longer. That's going to mean longer average handle time and more after call work, right? So the whole thing just kind of snowballs if the agent isn't as enabled as they can be. And there's always going to be the compliance risk. The issue with something like random sampling is that if you random sample 2% of your data, It's good for understanding why customers are reaching out, but it's not going to be good for understanding if your entire data set or your customer interactions are actually compliant. So when customers try to solve this problem, they could be anywhere within this spectrum or this stage that you see here, right? We have some customers that come to us with a fully manual QA process. So to make sense of that data, that 2% that they're currently at on average, they're going to be doing everything totally manual. Manual evaluations, manual quality assurance, manual coaching. Generally speaking, most enterprises or even mid-market will have adopted some kind of speech analytics technology to help make sense of this data, right? But the key is that every customer that we work with is going to be at a different stage here. And we want to bring all of our customers to that final stage on the right, which is generative AI, right? Using all those cool things like ChatGPT that you've seen, using AI summaries. We want to get customers there. But the key is that every customer is going to start at a different stage on here. We identify that, and we're going to help move the customer along down the line, basically to the right, where eventually we get them to automation, AI, and we're using generative AI to make sense of this data. So this really brings us to Observe.AI, right? What is Observe.AI? If you come by the booth, and I've challenged anyone to do this, we'll do this with you, is to explain what we do without buzzwords. Essentially what Observe.AI is a way to make sense of data within the contact center, both as it happens real time and after the interaction, or what we'll say post-call, right? So from a real-time perspective, basically what we have is an application that is on the agent's desktop that will help to guide them through an interaction, let's say through a call. So we have what are called smart scripts, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, where basically an interaction will follow a particular path that you have set based on language that the customer uses. So the customer calls in, says that they want to cancel, for instance. It'll actually push them down the correct path and nudge the agent for what they should be saying and when. From a post-call or post-interaction perspective, with all that data, we make it really easy to evaluate those interactions, to make sense of that data. We'll pull out the key points of interest. We'll summarize that interaction. And the most important thing is we'll make it easy to take action on that data. So really one of the most important things is not just making sense of all this data in the contact center, understanding what's happening on those agent-customer interactions, pulling out those points of interest, but it's also what do you do with that data? And that's always what I say to our customers on demos, right? It's not what you can extract, it's what you can then do with that data that you extract. So with Observe.AI, we have a full coaching workflow in the platform, and ultimately you can use that to improve your agent's performance and thus improve the business, right? And thus drive better outcomes because you have more enabled agents. And so what are some of the results from this, and how do we get there? Right, so when we look at something like customer sentiment improvement, we can do that because Observe.AI uses machine learning to detect negative customer sentiment. Now, a customer could say something very calmly, like, I just want to pay my bill. And that doesn't sound negative. You could read that on a transcript and it sounds okay. But what if the customer is yelling, I just want to pay my bill, right? We can detect that nuanced tone and understand if negative customer sentiment is present. With that, you can understand if a customer is upset because of an issue that can't be controlled on that call, like let's say they have a product that's not working, or they're upset because the agent isn't handling the call correctly. Because we can detect that, we can then coach agents and make their performance better by teaching them how to better handle an upset customer. In addition to that, right, as we can see, a better enabled agent could mean 2% closing to 3% closing, right? A 1% difference means higher sales conversion for an agent. So being able to enable the agents on better scripting, on better language they can use, on how to handle a customer objection is really, really helpful when it comes to driving sales conversions. And we all hear about average handle time, right? The amount of time that it takes to complete an interaction. That going up is never a good thing. Generally speaking, when average handle time goes up, so does the customer's negative sentiment. We make it really easy to understand where there are points of dead air on a call, where there are hold time violations, and you're able to coach on that. And then in addition to that, when it comes to compliance, right, 2% understanding of the data for compliance is not going to really help you when it comes to understanding if your entire organization is compliant. Is PII being handled correctly? Is a customer given information without actually going through the verification process? All of that you're going to want to know at 100% rate. So when it comes to real time, this is a little bit of that agent assist experience, right? So when the agent actually has Observe.AI on their desktop, they're going through an interaction with a customer, this is actually what they're going to get. So they're going to make sure they open that call properly, they verify the customer properly. These are 100% customizable. We know our customers have different needs, so we're going to make it really easy for our customers to make these smart scripts, and then when an agent is going through an interaction, they'll be able to leverage these smart scripts to make sure there's consistency in how they're responding to these calls that they're on. When it comes to the accuracy of Observe.AI, right, this is one of the big differentiators for our platform. We have made our own AI and large language models, or LLMs. Essentially what that means is that most of the third-party speech providers, speech analytics providers that are in our space, they will use third-party engines like Google, Microsoft, Amazon. Unfortunately, they are not designed for the contact center, which means they will miss a lot of terminology, they will miss a lot of context. We actually have hired AI ML teams fully dedicated to Observe.AI that do things such as transcription accuracy like you see here, and make it really, really easy to understand what's happening, higher accuracy out of the box, and we can train for new words, new phrases like unique proper nouns. We've worked with pharmaceutical clients, for instance, with dozens of unique names that we did not have in our transcription model, and make sure that we get that accuracy. And high accuracy is just garbage in, garbage out, right? It's low accuracy, I should say. So if you have a low accuracy, all the data that you extract from that is going to suffer as a result. High accuracy, you're going to have much better outcomes and much better understanding of what the actual results are. When it comes to differentiators, right, there's a couple of things that really make us different. The large language models, the AI that we talked about, really big as far as differentiators go because ours are specifically designed for the contact center. Just going over to the right there, as far as ROI goes, and also speaking to the service that you see on the bottom left, we have onboarding and customer success teams that are with you through the entire process. We are not a set it and forget it product, and we crawl, walk, and run with our customers. So at every given time, you're going to have the expert resources so that you can go live, be successful, ultimately prove out your ROI. In addition to that, we really are big on automation, but automating in a way that is actually correct, scalable, and producing the accurate data that you want, right? So part of the thing is that we don't go live right away with automation 100%. It's a process of getting feedback from the customer, making sure that we understand what's working, what isn't, calibrating along the way. So when automation is finally ramped up, that accuracy is there to match it. And this is just an example of auto summary. So with our interactions, like all those calls that we're taking in or other interactions, we actually will provide an auto summary. This is an example of where that large language model, like we were talking about, is really going to show the difference, right? You'll see on the left, you'll see that there's not really any of the opportunities that are captured. The next steps are missing some of the actual context that they need. But when you actually have a large language model that is specific to the contact center, we'll be able to summarize interactions really, really well. Here is our obligatory company slide. We work with some of the biggest contact centers and everyone from 100 agent contact centers all the way up to some of the largest BPOs in the world across industries. But I'd say if we have industries that are really hot, you'd look for compliance-heavy industries, insurance, fintech, health insurance, healthcare, retail, manufacturing. Generally, that's where we're going to see a little bit more concentration, but I think if you could name an industry at this point, we probably have somebody there. Awesome. Any questions? Great. Thank you, everyone.